Hello everyone. Today it will be our final build for our e-commerce website. As you've seen, for last 4 parts we have been done a lot of things, but today we're going to integrate the Stripe payment authentication and we'll create some successful payment, and also we will just covering up all of the things. Now if you are following through for the last 4 part, you may have all the code, but if you doesn't have the code, don't worry about it. You can just start with me right now by following that link, which will be first in the description below. That will be the link for this GitHub repo. You just need to clone that one, or you can download and do whatever you want. Just you need to fulfill the .env file with your credentials. So just follow me. I will just guide you through with all of that. Now I already took an empty folder like beforehand, so here I will just clone the project from the beginning. Now in all of the 4 part, as you'll see, I do the same thing, because by default if you missed anything you can just start from the start. So now we will just clone our previous project. Okay, so it's already cloned. Let's go inside that, so it will be RBYT. And don't worry about it, you can just go in that folder also, and then you can open your code editor or whatever the things you're using for writing your code. I'm using the VS Code, so what I will do, I will just make that a code dot, so it will open within my code editor. As it is opened, you just need to first thing first, you need to focus on the .env file, because that's where you need to have a lot of credentials to go through it. But first, actually I have those credentials and I already show you how to retrieve that one. So I will just paste those credentials, which actually coming with my next public Sanity project ID, dataset, API version, API token, and the nextauth, nextauth secret, GitHub ID, GitHub secret, Google client ID, and Google client secret. And for the other 2, not the 3, for the Stripe, we'll start it very soon. So now I save it, and after saving, because by default once we are cloning any of the repository from GitHub, there will be no node module, so we just need to open our terminal, and within the terminal I will take my git bash to go with. You can use the PowerShell or CMD, whatever you prefer actually. Now here I use the yarn, so I will just run that command yarn, and what it gonna do, it gonna go and install all the required dependencies for my application. Now you can go through with a quick view if you are beginning. If you are just already with the build, you can just fast forward with the build section from which actually the building started. But for the newcomer, you can just explore a bit with that app, which we have the admin portion for the Sanity CMS, and we have the user portion where we have the user data, and then we have an assets where actually we are showcasing the banner and other logo, and then we have the components folder where actually underlying all the components, and we actually use the customized font, the Poppins font, and that's the file where is actually underlying. And then we have the leaf folder to have some helper function. We have our Redux to create our store, and you can explore a bit with those files if you're new on that, so you will have a very good idea how the things is happening. Then we have our Sanity folder where actually we are putting all the schemas we used, and then we have our style. I just removed that style from the app. We just make it separate, and we created one base for our font family, and also the global to just giving that font details for the Tailwind CSS. And then in the parent layout we have our .env file and other Sanity CLI and Sanity config. All the files are available here, so you can just have a very good start to just to have try to learn and know actually what we use. Then you will have a better effect on it. And if you have any question regarding that build, go to previous videos, and which you will find in my channel. If you just go roll back through the channel, you will see there is I think the all videos is there, 4, 3, 2, 1. So this, and also I will do one thing, I will just compress all together, then I will upload one video where actually you can find. And then there is so many other portfolio, and e-commerce website. If you just go and be little bit of active and curiosity can driven you to make something new and better, you can have a very good idea, and you can create some more fantastic website for your portfolio or for your company. Okay, I recommend you to, it's depend on you. I'm not asking you like, subscribe or share. What I'm saying you that do the things good for you. Okay, if you feel it's helping you, then do your part. If it's not helping you, thank you for tuning here. Okay, so all the best for your build. So what I will do right now is that I will just start that to spin in my localhost 3000, which will be running one command, and it will be yarn dev. So now it will help me to start spinning in my localhost. Okay, this is started. So I'll just close that, and also I'm gonna close that, and I'll open my localhost 3000. Okay, our application is running, so it's very good feature is that everything is working fine. So now, as you see, if we click in the card, first we will create a middleware to stop anyone without logging to not to visit certain kind of pages. So this the card, if like right now I'm not logged in, because if I logged in, there should be appearing my picture, right? So what I will do, I will create a middleware in the source folder. So it will be inside the source directory and not within any of the folder. So it will be mainly in the source, and that one, the name, it will be middleware.ts. Remember to create the name properly, otherwise it will just give an error. So it will be middleware.ts. Here what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna just make an export, which it will combine with the default export, and that export need to be from nextauth, and then there is a folder name middleware we're gonna pass from there, and also we will pass an const config. It will be a config, and that config will take an object which will take that matcher. So it will match, which will be number of array. So it will match all the links we're going to provide. So right now we have the cart page, so we will let that not to visit any of the cart page, and also we will gonna have a page called success, which going to be initiated after the payment. By default you cannot access that one also, but we will just make that in a, just to take some precaution. So let's save it, and after saving, just try to reload that page, and let's see what actually going to happen. You see, after reloading we cannot visit the cart now. If we go back to our home page, oops, it should be 3000. So now we can visit the home page. If we now want to go back to the cart, it's just asking for the logged in. So let's take my GitHub account to logged in that particular website, and as you see, once I logged in, my profile picture is changed, and now I can actually visit the cart. So now it's time to create that payment authentication, which going to be running here to proceed to checkout. If we go back to our cart, and inside that card, as we create it as the use client, so I will just drag it down a bit. Okay, now here we need to create all the other facility. This the one, that's the button will be responsible to create that checkout. So let's write a function here which actually going to indicate to make the checkout. So we will make an on-click event, and that will be responsible to create that handle a checkout, or you can just make that create checkout. So now this function need to be called in the top layer. So let's go in the root. Now here below that function, we're gonna create that function which going to be stripe payment. So now we will declare that function, and it will be just going over there. So now this function going to be taking a lot of things. So first thing first, we need to actually get this variable here, which we have that .env file. We need to provide that next public stripe payment stripe publishable key and stripe secret key, and then also we need to create that stripe webhook secret. And to get those things, we just need to go back to stripe.com. Again, I'm referring you to read the documentation as much as possible for write me. Now I will just go to with the sign in. So as I am already signed in, so it will just give me that credential on the page, and beforehand I already created one. I have several projects. So what I will do, I will create a new account, like a new project, to take the payment and take the circulation if it's possible, because so then you will understand it from the core. So if you are new on this Stripe also, just feel free to follow with me. It will be all right. So the account name I need to give, and the name I will give is that RABYT, or I will just keep that RAB shopping. And country of operation, we'll just try to make it default, because as we are going to use the free one. Now I'll provide my password, and that password, it will be the default password which you set for Stripe account. Okay, now it's creating your account. And after creating the account, you will land here. Right now we cannot take any payment, so what we'll we'll just go in the developer option. In the developer, we'll go in the API keys, and here we're gonna have two keys. Again, I'm referring you not to use the keys I'm using right now, because I'm gonna revoke those keys after I finish this build. So I will just copy that, and here I will put that one. It will be that next public Stripe publishable key. So now we will get that secret key. So let's reveal the secret key, and I will just copy that. Okay, and I'm gonna paste it here. So now I have two key here, that is Stripe webhook secret. We're gonna get it later on, and I'm gonna show you how actually you can implement those things. So now I have this two key. So right now we can go and create that Stripe payment authentication. And first, to implement those things, also you need to install two more dependencies. One is the Stripe, another is that it will be Reactjs. So let's open the terminal here, and I'll just take another git bash. Okay, and it will be yarn add and Stripe. Okay, so now let it install all the dependencies requiring the Stripe. Okay, installation is done. So now in the cart, we need to actually get those things. So first, we will go in the top layer, and here we're gonna define something which will be Stripe promise. So const, it will be Stripe promise, and that one we will get from the load Stripe. So load Stripe. Okay, it's not giving me the pop-up, so let's import it first, and it will be import load Stripe, and that one will be from at Reactjs. Okay, so now we are just importing that one. So what I'm gonna do is that this load Stripe, it will just taking a function, and here we're gonna define that publishable key, which is going to be that it will take from there. It will be I think, yeah, load Stripe, then process.env dot, and remember we give a name here, so I will use the same name, which will be the next public Stripe publishable key. Okay, so now we can actually need to put an exclamation mark to say that, yeah, that key, it will be available there. So now we need to get that key here. So what we gonna do is that we will make that function as a async function. Okay, so now we can actually get that Stripe key. So if we just put const Stripe equal to await Stripe promise, and if we just make that log and see that Stripe, I believe we can actually see something here. So let's go in our console, and we can see all the like the log in the use client, like in the browser, because we create it as a use client. So here we will see actually what we are getting. So I will close that, and you see now it's actually, we can get that, you see the API key. So everything is going fine. Now we can actually get that Stripe publishable key from there, and we can use it here also. Okay, I'll remove that console, which is not required from the last video. And here we need to create a method. First, we're gonna take if there is a session. So did we use that? No, the session is not used, because if it's not logged in, actually if anyone not logged in, it should not browse that data, right? So that's the one we need to implement here, for because anyone, even you are not logged in, you cannot come here, right? Because you cannot visit those page. But even though, we will make a double check, even if you come here again, we're gonna check that one if any session is there or not. And to get that, we'll just destructure the data from the session, and that session, it will come from that use session. So now we have the session. So now we can actually put a condition here. So this one I will just close, and I will keep the last one, like if a session user If the session and user is available, then we will go with that to fetch the stripe and the other properties, and else we're gonna pass a message. So it will be a toast.error, and that error gonna say is that please sign in to make checkout. Of course you will not see there, just to create that fallback things, just I keep in that way. So now we will pass the post request. So, and that request and responses we're gonna create with the checkout portion. The checkout layer in the API we're gonna do it later, but now I will just fulfill this one here. So now const, we're gonna get a response, and that response it gonna come, it will again, we need to await for it and for the fetch, and that one actually it will get from our localhost 3000, and we're gonna create a folder inside our API. The name we will give it as the checkout, and here we're gonna just hit and we're gonna pass the other variable, and the method it's going to be a post method, and then the headers we need to pass, and that headers it will be content type, and that type it will be application JSON. So we're gonna pass the header as a content type of application JSON data we're gonna send, and also we're gonna make a pass the body, and that body we're gonna make that JSON.stringify, and with that items, remember we have the item which is actually the product data, so we will pass the item all over the item we're gonna pass, and that email we're gonna also pass an email if we require to retrieve the data later on, and that email it will be that a session.user.email. okay, so now these all the things we are going to pass through that response. We're gonna hit back, and after passing that also you're gonna get a response. So const data, and that data we will await for the response. So the response we are sending there, and that one we will take it as JSON. Now actually we are in the for blank of in the goal to go. Now if this response which we are getting, if this response is okay, so everything is going to be a good way, then what I'm gonna do, that remember we declare the stripe, so the stripe dot redirect to checkout, and that checkout it will come from that we're gonna pass a session ID which is going to be data.id. so that's the ID we are going to pass, and this ID it will come from that stripe. Right now you cannot make it, because now only we can publish here that our publishable keys, so this secret key it's not accessible in the client side. And to access that secret key, you need to use the API, means the backend structure. That's the way, that's how actually Stripe is designed to work. So what we're gonna do now we are going to have the card. So what now it's time to create our checkout portion, and to create that, let's go to inside our app, and inside that API I'm gonna create one more folder here on that API, create a new folder, and that folder the name I'm gonna give is the checkout. Remember the name you give here and also the name you put here, it should be similar, otherwise it will break. Okay, that's the route we are calling actually. So now it will be route.ts. so now here we're gonna define actually how and why, how actually we're gonna do the work. So it will be export, and we're gonna make a post method const, and it will be a post equal to, it's also be an assign function. Okay, and that assign function we will just take a request which going to coming from the next request. Also we need to import it from the next server, then we're gonna pass the other thing. So right now let's see actually what we're gonna receiving in the body. Okay, so just to check that one, const, let's put that rec body, so means a request body, and we're gonna await with that, and await request.json. okay, now what I'm gonna do, just put a log over here just to see what actually we are receiving in the request body. Of course that log is gonna come here in the server side, it will not go in the client side. So right now what I will do, I'll just click on that proceed to checkout, and let's see. As you see, there will be an error. Don't worry, because we're not returning any response, but what actually we are getting on that particular post request, if we are all the data is actually passing properly or not. As you see, we are passing all the data. Which data? You see, we have 3 products. We are passing the 3 products, that items, and the 3 items is available. Then also email we are passing, which is actually we logged in. So the message is passed properly. So now we can create all other things. So I'll remove the console. And first I need to declare the stripe. So it will be const stripe, and then it will be new stripe. Don't forget to import the stripe in the top. So on this stripe, it will be a process.env dot. Remember, we also gave a similar name. I can type it, but better to copy from here. So it will be a minimal issue to make the mistake. Now also put an exclamation mark. That's just for the type definition. If you put that as a string, it will just work. Okay, so I'll just put that exclamation mark to write a listing. So now here, what I'm gonna do, instead of getting that, I'm gonna just get a function which will define the try catch block. So now in the top layer of the block, I will take my requested body, and I know what actually is coming from that request. Is coming that items, and also is coming that email, and both I'm gonna destructure from that rec body. Okay, so now I have those things. Now before going through that successful portion, I will go with that catch block just to pass any error if we are catching. So it can be any error. So you're gonna return, and that return we need to just pass the next response. Don't forget to import it from the server, next server, and then we're gonna modify it as a JSON data. And here we're gonna pass an object where we're gonna define that error. If there is an error is available, then we're gonna pass that error message. Okay, error message. And also we're gonna pass any status. That status going to be 500. Okay, so it will be the server error. So now here we need to create that checkout portion, the session we need to implement here. And to do that, what we're gonna do is that we're gonna extract the items from the items. Okay, so now we're gonna define that const, you can put any name here, const updated items. Now here what we're gonna do, we're gonna await for the items, and then we're gonna map through it. Okay, and that item we need to define that product props, the types. You remember we already have those types here available here. So here actually we mentioned what's the data the types actually having. So you will find that, and it will be very helpful to just define in that way. So now what I will do after that one, we need to define that actually how it's, we need to just return that. Okay, we're gonna just return an object here. So updated items, await, and in the item we're gonna pass an object, and here in the object we're gonna pass several things. So indicatively writing a lot of things. So what I'm gonna pass is there, I need to pass those things here. Okay, and URL4 we have that helper function. We'll just import that one. So actually what we are passing in the updated items, so we are mapping through the items, and from here we are taking the quantity, which the item dot quantity, we are taking the price data, currency as USD, and unit amount, because by default as we are using as the, because it will take the default value. If you're using the dollar, it will combine with the cents, so it will just need to multiply into 100. Okay, if you are returning back the data, you need to divide it by 100. That's how it will work. And in the product underscore data, we are giving the name, title, and the description of the product, and the images. Now you cannot send the images directly because we are using the Sanity CMS. So we need to create that URL for, and then from there we will pass that image URL there. Okay, so right now we are having that updated items which actually we can send. So now we're gonna create the session. So it will be const session, and that session it will await, and then it will make that stripe dot. Now you can see it will give you so many, like it will give you the things which you actually use that. So stripe and then the sessions dot create. So how we're gonna create is a function, and we are going to pass all the parameters within that object, and then we're gonna pass that payment method types. Okay, You see the payment method types. For right now, you can pass multiple payment method types. I will just pass one, which is going to be the card, and then the line items. Remember, we already modified the items, so it will be the updated items, and the mode, it's going to be a payment. And also we need to provide the success URL, and that success URL, there will be a very tricky things, because remember, we're gonna pass that our normal URL, right? So that URL actually available in our .env file, so you can actually access from there. For now, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just type that one, because I will show you some tricky things actually. So what we're gonna do is that will be our localhost 3000, then it will be / success page, and within success page we will pass in the query params, we're gonna pass a session ID, which going to be equal to the ID we are going to having, which is the checkout session ID. Now where we're passing, now anybody can access that success URL. Okay, now if I'm logged in, I can access success URL, but so we need to only show the success URL only to land anyone on the success URL whenever we will having that checkout session ID, means we're gonna have a successful payment checkout. And also that at the same time, we're gonna dispatch our card, we're gonna receive the card, and we're gonna take the fallback data, and we're gonna pass the data to our order list, where actually you can send to any of the database. Okay, that's why we need to inject it in that way. And for the cancel URL, that's the similar things, but we will just do it in a simplistic way, the way we are going to use to it. It will be cancel URL process.env.nextauth and then the cancel. Now here also you can modify that, but I just type it in a normal way so that you will understand why I use that. So now I have the URL, and after that URL, I will pass the metadata, and within the metadata, I will just pass that email. So now this actually going to be helpful once we are going to retrieve the data, retrieve the payment data and other properties, so that time we can get it by email. Now we need to return, and that return, now the next request, it will be next response.json. And here we're gonna pass something. We're gonna pass a message. Oops, in here we're gonna pass message, which is that connection is alive, and then we're gonna make that success, it will be true, and then ID, it will be session.id. So now everything going, if it's everything working just in a fine way, we should be landing to somewhere. But before going to click on that page, what I would love to do is to create a success page. Okay, so I don't want to get go and get a 404. So what I will do, in that user layer, I will just open a folder which will be success, and here I'm gonna create a page which will be page.tsx rafce. Okay, it will be success page. Now that success page, I'm gonna just make a little bit contribution here, container, need to import that also. Now within the container, I'm gonna preferable to pass something, which just I'm gonna pass a div. Within that div, I'm gonna pass an h2 tag that will be your payment accepted by Oribi online shopping.com. Okay, of course that should be renamed properly, just comment in the div. Okay, so now that h2 and other design, we're gonna do it later on, but right now just to show you that we're gonna land it there. So for the Stripe, let's just check in the payments. For right now, we don't have any payments, so what we're gonna do, let's go and add more products here. As you see, now we are going to have a pricing of 865. So let's click. Also check that compiler if it's happening and watching properly. Okay, compiled API checkout. Okay, we successfully landed in the checkout page. So now we're gonna pass an email, and also by default it's gonna be 4242. The default is type payment number 34123 for the CVC, and for the name, put a name and pay. So after paying, if we did everything properly, we're gonna land in the success page. So let's see, it's redirecting. Okay, success, and we are getting the session ID. Okay, but because maybe we misspelled the name, which going to be let's go back to our checkout, so the route SUCC, yes, double C. That's what actually we did wrong. So if I just make that double C here, we will land in the actual page. Okay, okay, we are now in the success page. Now we will gonna write some conditioning here so that we can actually retrieve anyone not to access this page. So first thing first, what I'm gonna do is make that entire page as a use client page, because it's gonna relate with that ID which actually going to pass from the session ID. Now you can make it as a client side library, you can do it as your own, but for me I will just try to make it simple. Okay, so in the container, let's give some class name. I will just make it flex, item center, justify center, and padding y I'm gonna pass as 20, but by default is 10. Now here in that div, put a class name min height. I'm gonna pass the height as let's just give a 400 pixel. It will be the minimum height. I'm gonna make a flex in the column portion, item center, justify center, gap in y of 5. Now if I define one by one, it will just kill the time, so just feel free to understand and go block by block. So in the h2, put a class name which going to be text of 4 axle, and also font going to be bold. Save. As you see, okay, that looks cool. Now after the h2 tag, I'm gonna take a p tag which is going to be now you can view your orders or continue shopping with us. So that's the text. And now in that next layer of the div, what I'm gonna do, just pass to button. So I will not just, that's too simple button. Also I need to import that link from the next link. So now that actually can take us to back the /order, and one can also take back us to the if you want to continue shopping. So that's the div actually regarding to having this to button. Okay, so now if we don't have the order page, so let's go back and continue shopping. So right now, as you see, our cart is still in the product in the cart, so we're gonna just reset the cart manually, and let's continue to shopping. And here we will do some trick. What kind of trick is that? First, we are getting that search params, right? We are getting that properties from the search param, so I will just get that as a search params, and right now I will put it as any, so you can define the type for that. Just try to find a way to define it, we'll see. So now in the search param, let's put a log, and before defining the log, because we see that actually is coming, so also we'll use that const dispatch, which is going to be from that use dispatch, not the dataset, use dispatch from the okay, it will be from that React Redux search params. And now we will declare a use effect hook, and that use effect going to pass something. And here, okay, so now here what actually we need to define is that if anyone coming in that link without the search params, that and search params, within search params we have the session underscore id, the id actually we are passing on, so we are routing that. So if anyone doesn't have that id, we will not let them stay here, which will redirect to the home page. Otherwise they can visit this page and will dispatch the cart. So now like if anyone doesn't have that search params, okay, why is not giving us the suggestion? If anyone doesn't have the search param dot which is going to be session underscore id, if doesn't have, then we're gonna redirect, and that redirect, it will be need to be import from the next navigation. We're gonna redirect that user to the home page. Otherwise we're gonna make a dispatch, and that dispatch going to be reset the entire cart. Okay, so let's save that one. Now what I'm gonna do for right now, if we just try to go back to our success page, as you see, we can't stay there. We need to move on because we don't have access to visit that. So now if we just go and put some more item in the bag, let's go in the shop page and also add some products from there. Let's add that. Nothing fun. Let's go back to buy now. Now we have around 1534. Now if we make the proceed to checkout, you see we have that 5 products in the cart. We can see right now. So this is the checkout page. We are here. So now make that checkout. 02 12 35 123. That date should be a valid date, otherwise it will not work. So let's pay. So now as you see, we are actually following through that our session ID. We are having that session ID, and as you see, our card is empty and everything is working just fine. So now that's the portion. Now there is one more thing. Actually, we want to send the items to our data set. Okay, how actually we can do that? And just to go with the flow, remember we have one studio which actually we are managing for our products and other things. So we will pass some data whenever we finish a successful payment. Okay, so on that way, that's why we need to create that Stripe webhook. Before creating the Stripe webhook, I love to go in the Sanity folder, and here in this schema I will create a new schema. Okay, so put a new schema which will be auth.js, and here we will define something. It will be export default, and that one it will be define type. And don't forget to import the define type from the Sanity, and also the define field we're gonna use later on. In the function we're gonna pass the object. Now here in that portion we're gonna pass some more variables which are going to be take the particularly the orders and the other we'll just import that define field. Okay, so now here we're gonna pass an order details. We're gonna pass the details of the orders, that actually how much is going to be get through there. So the name it will be order, title order, type will be a document, and you know the define field we're just defining the name and other things. For right now I will not get the line items, just to show you actually we can do it. Now you can connect your database and pass all the items as you feel it could be available. So right now we'll just pass the title, description, the message, the status, method, and the amount. Okay, that's the things, small things to pass just to show you that is work. So now also we need to go back to index, and here we will pass that order portion. Okay, order. So now we are going to have that order. Just give it a little bit time to roll back. So now in the order, this will be our data structure. Okay, so as my dataset connected, I used my previous dataset, so that's why it's all the data is coming from the previous things. So right now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just make a reload. I'll just keep in that way, so we will track in new order if our order is coming or not. Okay, I'll just go back to my studio. Okay, so now to get that data set and other things, we need to create a webhook. Okay, to implement that webhook, how actually we can do that. And to do that one, what I'm gonna do in that API, I'm gonna take another folder which is going to be just put the name webhook. Okay, webhooks. And now I'm gonna take a route again here, so it will be the route.js. Now here, so in this order, just I want you to focus to, for you it will be the first one because I'm using the same data set elsewhere in the product, so it's just giving all the data here. So for the test payment is amount is 225, so that would be the change if we just use a successful payment. So let's go back to our website, and here now we need to get our what you call that webhook secret. So in here .env file we have another portion where we need to define that Stripe webhook secret. So actually how we can generate the Stripe webhook secret is that you need to install that Stripe in your local machine. Now if I open my CMD, like the command prompt, it will showing that I'll just check that Stripe version. oops, it will be a stripe version. As you see, it's it will show the correct version is there. Okay, so I am having 1.8.11. so you can feel free to go to the documentation and see how actually you can install Stripe for your machine, either it's a Windows or in the Mac. For right now, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna set a watcher which actually can set that one. Okay, so to implement that one, it will be Stripe, and that gonna be listen, and we're gonna make forward, and 2, it's going to be listen in our localhost 3000, and there we're gonna give API and webhooks, enter. So now it's checking for the newer things, and that's the things is provided what actually we are looking for. This is the secret. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pass that secret here. Again, I'm saying you don't use the things which you're getting here, because I'm gonna remove that one after we finish. Okay, so I set a watcher here, let it open, and where it's open, we're gonna go in the route and we're gonna make some changes here to see if everything is working or not. And right now, what actually we need to do is that we're gonna make that export, and it will be an assign function. Okay, assign function, assign function, and within that function we're gonna pass the request parameter. So it will be rec, which going to be from that we just actually we can pass it from that next request. Okay, so it will be from that next request, and now we're gonna define our function. So now that const payload, we're gonna pass the payload from that await, which going to be rec.text, which we're gonna passing from there in the request parameter. Now we're gonna just set that parameter, that how it going to be work, because we are not going to make a call in our current API in the pages, so it will be just to sending the data in the database. And also for the signature, const signature, it going to be rec dot headers, and inside that headers dot get, we're gonna get that method which will be stripe signature. Okay, so now we need to pass the event, so it will be const event, and that event going to be stripe dot event. It can be event, or either way it can get to be the null, and null it going to be equal to null. So now we define the stripe, so we need to mention the stripe, and of course the stripe, it should not be, it will be a small stripe, because we need to define the stripe here. So the const stripe, it will equal to be new stripe. We need to import the stripe from stripe, and then the process.env dot, remember we passed that stripe webhook secret here. So that's the secret we are going to use, and after passing that, we're gonna pass an object, and here we're gonna pass that API version. For this build, I'm using the version from the 2023 1016. That's the one I'm using here. Okay, so right now, okay, we are making the mistake. I think this one need to be stripe, yeah. So this one, it will go from the stripe event, because later on we need to use the other portion to create the webhook. Okay, and that function, we need to pass a method here, which is going to be a post method. Okay, so you can do it in a two-type way, which we did it before. You can pass with the export const, or you can pass it the same way. Both way it will work. So now we will use a try catch block to pass all the parameters, and in the catch block we will pass the error. So now what we're gonna do is that if error is there, we're gonna just return next response. We need to import it from nextserver.json, and here we're gonna pass a message which is going to be error message, and also we're gonna pass a status. Oops, it will be not a clone. Status going to be 500, and that error can be any error, any. And after setting that, also in the globally we need to return a response, otherwise it will just give an error for that. And .json, which going to be, will pass a message that received true. So means we are holding here, everything is coming here is fine. So now in the try block we will write our functionality for the webhooks. So in the try we will create an event, so that event it will equal to be at stripe dot webhooks, and we will just construct event from there, and in the event we will pass the payload, we will pass the signature, and we will pass the webhook secret. So now this webhook secret we need to implement here, we still didn't define. So it will be const webhook secret. Oops, this one not to be the webhook secret, this one going to be stripe secret, that's my bad. So two secret we need to provide to get the webhook to track. So this one it will be the stripe secret, and for the webhook secret it equal to be the process.env dot. Now we need to get that webhook secret here. Okay, so now we are having that our webhook secret. So this secret also we need to pass inside the parameter. Okay, so that's the signature. Okay, what's the issue we are getting? String buffer. Okay, let me see that. Okay, I think yeah, there is nothing. Okay, the signature should be string. Okay, could be the possible thing is it doesn't know that signature it would be available or not. So for the TypeScript we'll just define that yes, it will be available. Okay, so now we are passing that event. So now what we're gonna say to declare that if the event is there, then we're gonna pass a method. So if event.type is equal to, now here there is a lot of event type it could be. So if its type is payment intent, and is I think this one it will be the succeeded. So if this parameter is the succeeded one, then we're gonna pass something. So const session, which going to be event.data.object. Now here in the object we're gonna just return, which will be that we're gonna return a function, and then it will just give the name of that fulfill order. Okay, in the fulfill order we're gonna pass that our entire session, and then we're gonna pass that one response here, which is going to be next response dot JSON, and that JSON we're gonna pass that status is 200. Okay, so that's the one implementation, and after that also there should be another implementation is that we're gonna catch the error if there is an error of that. So error, and on that error again it will be we're gonna return, so that error can be any error. Okay, we're gonna return a parameter which is going to be next, not request, it will be next response dot JSON, and here we're gonna pass that error as that error dot message, and after that also we're gonna pass a status, but normally it can be the server error, so we're gonna pass that one. Now we need to declare that fulfill order parameter. So to implement that one, let's go in the top layer. After that webhook secret we're gonna return that function in the fulfill order. Remember it also need to be an async function, because we need to wait to get the session back for us. Okay, so that could be our session, and we will pass the session as any parameter. And now we know there will be a session, so let's put a try catch block again here. So in the catch block we're gonna just make that log, and in the log we're gonna pass that error, and inside that error we're gonna just pass that error dot message. And of course you need to just define as any properties here. Now in the try block we will await, and remember we have one client which is the Sanity client. We will await for the client, and then we're gonna create. What we're gonna create? We're gonna create something in the type. The type is gonna be order, and then the parameter will just pass the other parameters also here. So it's going to be create that instances. So the type it will be order, status should be session.status, the payment method it should be the payment done, and description we can actually if session description is there, so if the session description is there then it will be that one, otherwise test messages from orders. Okay, the title will be the order, so we can actually instead of the order we can pass that session dot id, or if it's not available then we're gonna pass just order. Okay, so now let's see if we create the successful payment method, it should give us a value over here. We can see the action, and we can also see the other details. So we are not injecting anything within our application because I just want to show you how actually you can setting up that one. So let's go and create a successful payment method. So that's the payment. Okay, the 4 items, that's fine. Now it's 1220. Our previous payments, if we just go back to see all the payments, we didn't check yet if the payment is successful or not, because we are just landing in the success page. So now, okay, we had 2 payments and both are completed. So this time it will be 1220. Let's go back to the proceed to checkout, and okay, it's taking us to the checkout page. I will just shrink it down a bit so that you can see in the both way. So this is our checkout portion, and this is our API responses which actually we are going to get. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna start paying that one. Okay, 2 3. Let's pay. Now once starting the payment you're gonna receive something. Okay, I didn't start that watcher actually. That was the issue, because I need to make that things to watch. Okay, but it's fine. So let's just go back to our studio. Let's see if we receive something or not. Okay, we didn't. I think it will not happen yet, because I think we maybe made some mistake here. Okay, yeah, it didn't come. So let's just go and debug a bit here. Now the problem can be arising from the Stripe login. So if I just want open my command prompt here, you need to type one more thing, is that you need to get that Stripe login. So after login authentication is done, that time it will provide one secret key. Okay, now I will just pair the login. So that's the previously I used one Stripe secret, that's why it's just providing me that one. So I will allow the access. So right now if I just go back from here, it's gonna give me one, so which I have already. So this already adapted for 90 days. So there you're gonna receive that webhook key. So you just copy that, then it will just work fine. So now here, as you see, I have the keys which I am placing here. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go with a successful payment. So let's go back to in our shop page again. I'm gonna just make a reload, and also I'm gonna run here this command. Oops, it should not be that secret key which need to be running here to get that checkout portion. So it will be that localhost 3000 API and then webhooks. So it will be that key. Let's just start it with that. And also in my page, I'm gonna just get some add to cart button. Okay, we will just add some more products. Okay, so it's total 6 products is available. Proceed to checkout. And now this time we're gonna record all the scenario, all the cases it should be available here. So I'll just keep it in the side way. Okay, so now let's put an email and 4242. And also I will pass my name. Let's pay. So once I hit the pay, now actually I can get all the action. You see, the payment succeeded, so the charge succeeded, payment intent succeeded, payment intent created, and checkout session completed. And at the same time, I'm also getting the 2000 request for my payment. So now we did the payment. If we go back to our payment in this Stripe, so the last payment, which are going to be around something called the 700, the last one which we paid. Let's go in the details and we can see actually if this or not. So this the payment we have been created. So now let's go back to our studio to see actually if we can get the order items or not. So now if this is our studio, in the order we will receive something according to the ID. As you see, that's the ID which actually created the session. And the session ID, that's the order ID, title we put that, and the description, payment method succeeded, confirmation method is automatic, and amount it 700. So now you can make it more adaptive way. You can put some more designs, more details. You can also pass the line items, and from that line items you can access particularly, you can grab the order according to the ID, and then you can show it in your homepage or in the order page. So try to do that. If you cannot do it, just write in the description. I will try to do it again from the scratch with some more new designs, some more new items. So that is pretty much all alongside with the design pattern. So I think it can really help you to build a real-time e-commerce website and make it more helpful that you can do it either way. Now this search bar portion is pending, so that's the one actually we can do it also. If you can figure it out, it's okay. If you cannot figure it out, let me know in the description. I will also put that in the next video if it's required to. So hope you well, and we'll see you in the next video.